Sports presents
You're listening to The Sizzle on Iron Skillet Radio and Iron Skillet Television.
What's going on? You know who it is. You know what we're about to do. Thank you for listening to another edition of The Sizzle here on Iron Skillet Radio, Iron Skillet Television. I am your host, G Sizzle, and he is the man of the hour, Jay Sizzle. Jay, what's going on? What's good with you today?
Man, I had me some football playing last night. I'm so happy. I don't know what to do. Who won? Who played? I look today, I think Appalachian State is playing North Carolina and St. Mary's, and Northwestern State is playing Southeastern Northern State Saskatchewan. I don't care who's playing. We're just having a good time. Football's back.
It is. Football is back, and if you tuned into the Thursday night game, you're going to have a surprise for us when we get ready to talk about the gridiron segment. But look, man, before we can get ready to talk about anything else, we've got to talk about what's the word of the week. I've got a special word of the week for you. Do you know what it is? I'm going to tell you. Jay, do you know what effing is?
That's something. I think I got my mouth washed out with soap one time when I said that. My mama heard it. You need to clear this up, sir, because she's right around the corner.
All right. Well, effing, E-F-F-I-N, effing. It is a term that is a sizzle term. It is when someone has done something so egregious, and it's something that's caused so much pain. It can be a person, place, or thing that causes stress. Effing, E-F-F-I-N. That is the sizzle word of the week. So listen, Jay, let's roll right into it. Let's get into the hardwood. Let's talk about basketball and what's getting ready to happen, what has happened, and where we stand right now in the NBA bubble as there is a push and run for the playoffs to go through to the championships. So let's talk about it real quick. Let's talk about the first thing. Who is the best in the West? Right now, we've seen the LA Lakers with a resurgence and the Clippers trying to really redefine who they are. But let's talk about the Lakers first. The Lakers and the Rockets have been in a series, and it looks like it's going to be series over for the Rockets. So tell me from your observation, Jay, what do you see when you look at the Lakers?
I see a team really running on all cylinders, and you got LeBron James leading a team that's really ready to play. Is it that the Lakers are this good, or is it just that the Houston Rockets are just failing to execute? You know, they were shooting over 45 three-pointers a game during the regular season, and now they're down about 12 of those games now, 12 of those shots now. They're only shooting about 33 or 34. So the problem is now, are the LeBron James-led Lakers actually outplaying the Rockets by shutting down the small ball? Are they beating them at their own game? So it's really interesting right now about what's happening, the type of basketball we see, but we might see LeBron James his greatness actually coming through right now.
Right. It's a great question to ask, who's the best in the West right now? And we ask that, are the Clippers their only foe right now when it comes to their push towards the championship?
I don't know. There's a certain team over there they're playing against that's playing really good ball. You know, are we talking about, we're looking at Mr. Murry over there, Michael Porter Jr., Nicola. You know, this series can go differently right here. I'm not sure. I don't know. They need to be taking care of this team, but they're going to get stretched out if they don't take care of business. But Murray's been playing really well all of a sudden, so we're going to see what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, this is a team that the Nuggets are giving a good run, but let's ask about the Rockets. Let's go to what we see right now. Right now, the Lakers are at a 3-1 advantage point. They're in the catbird seat where the Rockets are in a 1-3 hole. So let me ask this, Jay. Is this the end of the road for the Rockets as we know them right now?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is going to be it. If you're talking about a team with Russell Westbrook and James Harden are really going to get bombed out, I mean, they've been taking a behind whipping for these last 3 games. They've been getting out offensive rebounded 12-1. How is that possible? How is that possible? Well, that's because they're playing their biggest player is 6'6", and the Lakers are just taking it to them. So it's just really interesting right now to see what's happening. Yeah, I think it's over, but now where does the James Harden land if he doesn't stay there? Where does Westbrook land if they don't stay there? So it's very interesting right now what's going on. But I never thought I would see this team. I thought this team had a real shot against the Lakers.
Well, that's a good question. Where does everybody stand? Where does this all go from this point? So if we're saying that this is the end of the road for the Rockets as we know it right now, with Coach D'Antoni, with all that's gone on with the season now, where do the Rockets go, Jay? What's their next move? What do they do now if they come to a deficit end, and it comes to an end tonight as they play the pivotal Game 5? What happens if they lose Game 5? Where do they go?
Where do the Rockets go? To the moon, Alice, to the moon. Look, I think we're going to see the destruction of the Rockets. I think we're going to see a breakup finally. I think we're finally going to see the end of small ball in the NBA. You'll see a resurgence of the bigs coming back. If we find out that you just can't outscore teams in the NBA, Dan Antonio is going to be leaving. Where is he going to go? I don't know at this point because he has his own style of offense, and we found out now in the NBA maybe you just can't outscore everybody. So we have to look at these. I'm not really sure about how their roster is set up with contracts, but I'm pretty sure you're going to see a James Harden or somebody like that trying to be on the move and trying to get somewhere where they can win a championship.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. It's a possibility that you have a Coach D'Antoni who could end up probably on the west side of Chicago, which may not be a bad move for them, just so long as it's some coach, Jay, as you said, somebody at least we know. But what does this really do in moving forward? Nobody really knows because we don't have a true indication. And we've had the Phoenix teams that Coach D'Antoni has led before, but we don't know if this small ball thing can work or if it will work. But what we do know is that LeBron James has somehow tapped into the fountain of youth, and he is looking stronger, better. AD is being unstoppable, especially when the Rockets, to your point, Jake, slow down the pace and now start playing the Lakers ball. Now it opens up the court for everybody else. You got guys taking threes that have never taken threes. You've got amazing things happen. And LA's bigs aren't even playing yet. So This is an amazing run that they're putting on. It's an amazing display of where they show their strength in the West. And if the Lakers are able to beat the Rockets, the biggest test for them, I think, will be against the Clippers as they move forward, and we'll see what happens there. But let me ask you this, Jay. We thought we were going to see an upset. In Game 6, we saw a Raptors team fight, and they fought hard to beat a Celtics team that looks poised to go to the NBA Finals. But then in Game 7, we saw this same Celtics team come back. They rallied. They fought. They struggled. And Marcus Smart put up a block that stopped their run. So what do we see with this Celtics team? Are they really as good as advertised?
I think they're better. I think they're better. Jason Tatum is a superstar. Let's just say it. Let's get it out here. Let's stop beating around the bush with it. This guy is one of the best players in the NBA. We just still have the old names in our head. We still have the James Harden and the LeBron James and all those upper tier guys. But he's right underneath those guys. This is a guy you can start a franchise with. He's been balling out of his mind. And I think that was no fluke of them winning and beating that ball club. I don't think it was a fluke. And I think whoever they come to next, that's going to be a real problem. You might be looking at a team that might be leading the East in the Eastern Conference and being the ones that are in the NBA championship.
Yeah, it's an interesting proposition. One of the things that interests me, and you just mentioned it, if you had a team right now, are those pieces what you see right there with the Celtics? can you say that those would be the foundational pieces? And I think you just answered the question. I think you can build a team around what you have in the Celtics, and the addition of Kemba Walker really has helped just move them forward, bro. I am so happy that Kemba is in a situation where he can really shine, and that they have a whole roster full of guys who are good bench players, but they're also a good team together. They coexist well. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this matchup works when you've got the Heat coming in, because I'm saying it right now. It's going to be Celtics Heat.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler's got him playing, don't he?
Yeah, man. I want to see Jason Hayward and Jimmy defend him. I want to see how this series is going to move forward and really putting that stamp on what the East is going to do. But let me ask you really quick. Mm-hmm. Even if you got a Celtics team or you got a Heat team, do either of the East teams have enough to beat either the Lakers or the Clippers?
Yeah, I think so. Because you're talking about just what you talked about with the Celtics. You talk about all-around ball players, guys with the attitude, guys who are not afraid to body up, who are going to bang with LeBron, who are going to and take away these role players that are playing really well for the Lakers right now. Kuzma's still playing major minutes. You still have the guy with the headband on his head that needs to go to the hair club for men. He's still playing major minutes. And so the whole thing about, can these guys sustain this through the playoffs? Is it possible? Mm-hmm. I think these East Coast teams, look, with Giannis being gone, that early exit, which was ridiculous, but they're gone. That really has set a fire in the East against these young ball clubs. You see the Sixers who believe that they can win. You see the Celtics who showed that they can win, and they're licking their chops trying to get after a LeBron James-led Lakers if they should still come out of the West.
Yeah, it's funny. We're talking about the Lakers, but we also have talked about a rejuvenized Clippers team. And if this Clippers team can get it going and they can get moving, this could be a very scary playoff. It could be a very exciting playoff. But I think everybody's looking for the marquee matchup of the Clippers and the Lakers, the Battle of L.A., the 4-10.
I don't know, but Denver might get them. Denver might get them.
Do you really think Denver's going to rise up
and
get the Clippers?
Get them, man. Look, hey, Murray's been playing out of his mind. And
that he has.
Going, and then, with a Michael Porter Jr., this guy, if it wasn't for his back, we probably would say that he was one of those transitional players, one of those guys. He's not KD, but he's a step below. Is he a kid that's finally starting to come into his own right now? Is that what's starting to happen? Because if that's the case, they just might be catching these Nuggets at the wrong time. Because these young guys start believing that they could actually get it done. Mm-hmm. I mean, if they win this series, hey, anybody can win it. Anybody, and here's the problem with the Lakers. We see the Lakers going hard right now, and we're able to play this small ball. But what happens when they have another ball club who's going to play like them, who has the guys that are going to attack off the wing, who has a big down there, who's going to battle down below? God forbid if AD gets in any foul trouble, and now you have to rely on Rondo playing well. I mean, he's been doing really well, but how long is that going to last? You know, so these role players got to keep coming. If they don't keep coming, it's going to be a problem. And when these young teams come out, it's very possible in this shortened season that we might see one of these young teams come along and win this championship.
Let me ask this really quick before we get ready to end this segment. Can the Lakers still survive without really being able to manufacture shots? They're maybe one of the worst shooting teams as far as team shooting in the playoffs right now. Will they be able to survive this by playing the way they've been playing against the Houston Rockets?
If AD and LeBron can keep going with these combined 62, 65-point games, yeah. But if we see a fall off anywhere down the line, all of a sudden we see a LeBron who gives us a pedestrian 25, or we see AD who, for whatever reason, can't get it going, and now you're only getting 45 points from your two-stop starters. Where are the rest of the points coming from? That's the biggest problem with the Lakers. You don't have guys that you can go to. You're relying on Rondo to play big minutes. You're relying on Kuzma to come through for you. You're relying on these other bench-type players who probably would not be starting on other teams in the league, but they're playing with the Lakers. So it's very interesting to see, can LeBron, an aging LeBron, can they keep going like they're going? Because God forbid, either one of those guys get gimped up a little bit or anything happens, the Lakers are in deep trouble.
Yeah, they are. When we come back from break, listen, we've got to go to break, but when we come back, we're going to open up the gridiron segment. We're going to open up the playbook. We're going to talk about NFL football, and we're going to talk about maybe one of the best games we've seen thus far in the season. I know it's
the only game we saw?
Yeah, it's only one game, but it might have been the best one. So listen, when we get back, we're going to talk about the Chiefs, Texans, and what to look forward to when we look at the NFL moving forward. You're listening to The Sizzle here on Iron Skillet Radio, Iron Skillet Television.
Thank you for listening to The Sizzle, the hottest sports talk in the 219, here on Iron Skillet Television and Iron Skillet Radio.
You know who it is. You know what we've come to do. We come to talk about sports. All sports, but not all sports right now. The only sport we're talking about right now is the NFL. So you're listening to the gridiron section from The Sizzle. Jay, we've got to talk about the most exciting game that has been played this season. Maybe it's the only game, but it's the best game. It was the Texans and Chiefs. It was a rump rouser. It was a thump thudder. It was
a rump rouser?
Yeah. Well, there were people standing in the stands. Well, maybe because it was raining. I don't know. Yeah. But it was a rump shaker mover.
Wow, that's a whole that's Sizzle After Dark, sir.
Oh, okay. Well, we're not in Sizzle After Dark. So let's talk about it. Texans, Houston, what were your thoughts from seeing the game Thursday night as the marquee game, the beginning game of the season?
First thing, let's not go past the point that we saw both of these teams come together at midfield and link arms and we're out there in solidarity. I know a lot of people are tuning up. You might even be watching this today and saying, hey, I didn't come here to watch sports and to hear you guys talk about racial situations and what's going on in the United States. But the issue is that for anything to change, it must be out in front of your face. The only reason why you go to the doctor is because something hurts. And if you tune in and you watch your sports and there's some situations going on where people are talking about race relations, maybe for just a few minutes out of your day, you might take some time out and think about what's really going on. So I really thought that was important. I really thought that the two of them linked together when Deshaun Watson ran out of bounds and they were sitting next to each other. I just really sat there and thought, wow, wouldn't it have been nice if either one had been sitting on a Bears bench? But we won't talk about that right now. We won't talk about that. The whole issue is this. It was great to see NFL football back out there again. Both these guys looked a little rusty. They took away a couple of touchdowns. This could have been a bigger romp from the Chiefs than what it was. It was just good to see them out there, good to see these guys out and playing. And right now I'm taking the proverbial egg off my face because I really thought there was no way possible that we were going to see NFL football in 2020.
Well, they have done an excellent job. And so let's talk about that quickly. How do you think the NFL has done? They haven't had a bubble. And I know that MLB is talking about a bubble. MLS is talking about a bubble. But the NFL hasn't had one. So have they done a good enough job to keep this season going? And do you think they can get through the season without any major hiccups while we're in the midst of a pandemic?
I didn't think so. But apparently they can. I don't know what they're doing. You really haven't heard. I mean, one thing, well, I'll take that back. One thing they are doing, if guys are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're getting them right off the roster. Mm-hmm. They're moving guys out. So I think you have a lot of these teams, guys really bought into it. Guys want to get paid. And they're out here playing football. And I'm just amazed by it. I didn't think it was going to happen. Can they keep this going on in this shortened season? We're going to see. But we got a whole slate of games coming up tomorrow And me and my nachos are extremely happy right now. It's an exciting thing.
So let's talk about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, he was an
Yeah.
option that nobody really saw coming, but they saw coming. This is
Number
a young
32
man who
overall.
came in. Oh my goodness. Can we just call him CEH? I don't know if that's a good term for him, but we're going to say somebody who
Don't
rushed
get
for
it.
138 yards
I know.
and had a touchdown across
Yeah.
25 carries. This is the kind of guy you want not only on your fantasy team, but this is the type of young player you want on your bench. You want him playing on your Sundays. So, were you impressed by what you saw from the position players for the Chiefs?
Well, I'm impressed that these position players get to play with the best player in the NFL. And
Mm-hmm.
they're going to make anybody look good. Patrick Mahomes is just the best offensive threat we've seen in the NFL in a long time. You cannot load the box. He has probably one of the best tight ends player right now. He has the fastest wide receiver right now. And because of those things, you can't load the box. So you could take a lot of players and put them in that box, and you're going 5-on-5, hat on hat, and they have an opportunity to rush for over 100 yards. Can Helaire do the same type of thing if you were in a situation where guys would step down the box and you didn't have these weapons on the outside? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say absolutely not. But because you have one of the best quarterbacks we've seen in a long time, with the weapons that we have in a long time on these loaded teams like this, I think this guy is going to benefit from that. He might even have an opportunity to sign some more contracts because he plays for the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm. Now, I wasn't going to mention Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins. I wasn't going to mention any of those guys. And I wasn't going to say the best quarterback, but since you said it, I'll go ahead and say it. The best quarterback in the NFL right now that's not named TB12.
Yeah.
Is this the man that you want to build your franchise around? Is this the guy that you look to and say, he's the one? He's the one. He's the one I want to pick with like my second pick if I had number two. Like if somebody was dumb enough to pick number
if I had
one.
the second pick overall, like about 3 years ago, if
Right.
I had the
Let's
second
just
pick
say.
overall, let's just say
Right.
if it would
Just for the
not
heck
that
of
we
it.
would have, not that that would ever happen,
Right.
but we got
Just,
lucky.
yeah.
And the second pick was overall, and Patrick Mahomes was sitting there, who
Right,
has a
on the board.
pedigree. Yeah, on the board. Who has a pedigree. His father was a professional football player. You knew his arm was great. He had a 92, 93 mile an hour fastball. You know he was drafted to play Major League Baseball. You knew he was a great athlete. He threw a 60 mile an hour football. He could throw a football 60 miles an hour. If this guy was available, I mean, who set all types of passing records. Set all types of passing records. Yeah. You know, no, I probably wouldn't take that guy. I probably would take a guy from some little school that plays in some conference I can't remember. With a guy who only played about 14 games of actual college experience. I probably would take that guy because there's no reason why I would take a guy who has one of the best arms we've ever seen, who has a professional pedigree. No, I wouldn't take that. I wouldn't take that guy. No, not me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm just, and maybe someone say, "Oh, gee, you sound a little, little perplexed." Well, okay, this is the effing thing we've been talking about this whole time.
Wow.
Yeah, sizzle word. It's a sizzle word of
Wow.
the day. Do you see how now
you're not going to connect the other letters to that, are you?
Yeah. So now I'm just saying I'm at a point now where I'm looking at a young man who's an accomplished star already. And I'm not even talking about the accomplished star that played for the Houston team that was there, who just had an off game. You could see without a preseason what has happened. There was a little timing issue. There was a little thing.
If
other
I
guy
had a chance to draft that guy who I think he was a national champion. He was on the national champion ball club.
Right.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't draft him either. No, I wouldn't get that guy. Not the national championship, played great against great competition. No, I'd still go get the guy who played against nobody, and he only played 14 games. I go get that guy.
Okay, well then tomorrow we've got slates of games, and we've got a young man in Baltimore who everybody's looking forward to doing the same things that he did at the University of Louisville. Same kind of play, same type of player. I don't know.
I wouldn't want that guy either. Why would I want that guy who was setting all type of records at his college and who was looked unstoppable when he was playing on some of the biggest stages? Games started at 7 to 8 o'clock at night. The featured games from a little Louisville getting featured games. Why would I want to take a guy like that? Nah, I wouldn't take him either.
Yeah. Well, tell you what, my friend, you're going to learn very quickly who they did take, and that will be Mitchell Trubisky as they get ready to open their season against the Detroit Lions.
I thought we said we weren't going to mention Mitchell Trubisky. I thought that was the plan. We weren't going to mention him, and you know.
Okay. Are you at all excited about any of the upcoming Bears games ever?
Oh, I'm excited about this first one. I'm waiting to see if Mitch is going to drop this ball on the ground on the first handoff. I'm waiting to see if he's going to throw an interception. That's what I'm waiting for to see.
Circa 2019?
Yeah, just last season.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. Yeah. Oh, you talking about the boos being heard all over Chicago. People are just going to go out on their front porch and start booing. Oh, it's going to be a rain of boo.
Yeah, there's enough violence going on in Chicago right now. I don't think Mayor Lightfoot wants any more arrests.
All the people on both sides might just stop and start booing in concert. They might stop the violence.
Just come out and attack Mitch. I don't advocate attacking Mitch.
No, don't attack Mitch. We can boo Mitch. Don't attack Mitch.
We can do it verbally.
I'm hoping he plays well, man. I hope he does, because this Bears defense is going to be really good. I think they're going to be another top 10 defense if they're not stuck out there having to play, 60 snaps in a ball game, 70 snaps or something like that. I just hope they don't have to play like that. But man, if you could just get these guys and let it rip, and they can control the ball on offense, the Bears could do something in this division. But I don't know. I just don't see it happening.
Okay, so let me ask you very quickly: are you now a Tampa Bay Bucks fan?
Look, when Jameis Winston was there, I was a Tampa Bay fan, but you just knew they couldn't win with Jameis. As good as Jameis is as bad as Jameis is. And
but
that's
he's
Jameis Winston's problem.
But he's famous. He's real famous.
He's famous, Jameis. But that's a guy though. You find out a couple of too much monies, and it becomes an issue. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that he's a bad guy by any way, shape, or form, but these quarterbacks, to win in the NFL, they have to be locked in, first man in, last man out. That's all they do. That's all they talk about. That's all they're being about. It's like, well, since you brought up the greatest Thomas Edward Brady Jr. Esquire, he literally has to make a pact with his wife that when football season starts, he's MIA for 9 months. He's really MIA for 9 months. Yes. Did you ever watch? Did you watch the series?
No, I didn't get a chance to see it.
It was really this dude, man. He's all like. There's a reason why he's got Giselle Bundchen.
Well, you know what? Maybe Daniel House should have called him.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, you have to make an agreement. When I'm in the bubble, whatever I do in the bubble stays in the bubble.
No. Okay. You got 5 million cameras at Disney World.
I mean, it's 5 million.
They probably have. I guarantee you, beyond the Pentagon or Fort Knox, that is one of the most secure places on the planet
right now.
And you're trying to sneak somebody in there and ain't nobody gonna see it.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why would you do that? You know what I'm saying? And she's not your wife. Come on, man. You know how much money this is gonna cost him?
Yeah.
I hope he got a prenup. I hope he's got a prenup. I hope he got a good one.
But he didn't have any money before, so he wouldn't have had a prenup because there was nothing to nump.
So my whole issue now is you're just now in the opportunity to make you some coins, right?
Mm-hmm.
They tell him, I guarantee you, they sat down and told him, all right, here are the 3 things you can't do. Don't leave the bubble, right?
Right.
If you're going to bring somebody to the bubble, let us know so they can go through the COVID procedures. And number 3, don't sneak somebody into the bubble.
Right.
Because do you know how much money you're putting at risk by bringing in a person that hasn't been gone through quarantine?
Mm-hmm.
Look, there's too much money, man. I don't understand this.
It's kind of like a general manager drafting a quarterback with the second pick that really was never a really good quarterback. And you just thought, Ryan Pace thought nobody was going to see him draft him.
Wait a minute. Wait. No, here's the funny part about the whole thing. Here's the funny part of the whole thing, right? Okay. You moved up to get him like somebody was trying to take him.
Right. You got tricked by John Lynch. He was like, man, we might take him with the first pick.
No, we might move up and get that guy, even though you have a national champion sitting back there, and you got another kid who throws the ball 185 miles an hour, who set records all in the conference. No, we're going to move up and get the guy that nobody even knows about, even though he was ranked high on the board. Let's go back. He was ranked high up on the board. But when you look at Deshaun Watson, the only problem he really had, he had the knee problem, but he looked fine. I mean, I can understand missing on Patrick Mahomes. And we bemoan this. Every time we talk about the QBs, we bemoan this. But there's no reason you don't take Deshaun Watson. And he's sitting there. There's no reason.
You got it.
There's a reason.
Oh, there's a reason. No reason. Oh, there is a reason. There's a reason, and it's called the misery and the toil that has become that of the plight of the Chicago Bear fan. Yes, it is the misery and the toil of it. It is the effing problem that is always being had if you're a Bears fan. But we're going to solve that for you because on the other side, we're getting ready to go to break. And we're going to talk about this some more because we're going to leave the playbook open. And we're going to talk about the grid line fantasy and who should be on your fantasy team, what you should be looking for, and how you should be preparing your fantasy for dailies and your setup for your season long. So listen, it's so much to talk about. All you've got to do is sit there and relax. We'll be right back. You're listening to The Sizzle.
Did you know that you can listen to Iron Skillet Radio on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor? It's easy. Look for Iron Skillet Sports or hashtag Skillet_sports for our latest episodes. We are Iron Skillet Sports.
You know who it is. You know what we've come to do. We came to bring you the hottest fire. We came to give you the talk. Oh, I'm so excited. I don't know why I'm so excited. I love football season. It's like a holiday.
Hey,
I'm really excited.
Really weird? You know what's really weird now? We got the trifecta going on right now. We've got the NBA playoffs. We've got the NFL starting its season. And we got the Major League Baseball going. They're going to be in the playoffs here before we know it. And you got, I think, hockey still playing.
You do have hockey still playing. Unfortunately, the Blackhawks are not playing, and you've got Corey Crawford, who's about 90, but at least he was tenured a one-year offer, you know. So,
all right. So is Jonathan Taves the granddad yet? Because at some point in time, you gotta let the core go, man. You gotta let the core. You gotta move on at some point in time.
Well, at some point, you got to tell. You got to tell Kane and Taves, especially Kane. Let's go with Kaner. First of all, when you're a grown man, you can no longer be called Kaner.
Well, you can still wear the mullet, though, my friend. The mullet you still rock the mullet.
There's the issue, my friend. There is the major issue that you're having with the Chicago Blackhawks is that you got Kane still rocking a mullet. It is time to stop. It is over. It is done. Please vacate the mullet from the building immediately.
Somebody grabbed the bullet and put it back in the cage.
Yes. The only way you can pull that mullet out is if you win another championship, and that doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon.
There's no time happening. That ain't happening.
Yeah, well, I know what can happen is that if you listen to the Sizzle, you can learn how to win your fantasy league, be it your dailies or be it just what you're doing in your standard league. Listen, we give you the fantasy that you need. Hey, it's not just a fantasy, it's a reality. You like that one? I like that. You see what I did? It's not a fantasy, it's real. Okay, moving right along. It's fantasy football and it's fantasy reality football. So, again, we just said if you had anywhere in your fantasy team, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, even if you had CEH, I don't know if that flows well. I don't know. But I like Hilaire. Something about it sounds cool. I know he wants to bring in other names, but I like Hilaire. But if you have them right now, if you had Tyreek Hill, if you have any of those Chiefs players on your team, you're good. But let's say you don't. Let's say that you just, I don't have any of those guys. They're not my starting quarterback. Let's say my starting quarterback is probably Ben Roethlisberger because I'm still like 4 or 5 seasons back, and I still think he's pretty good, but he's not. But he rates well. But let's talk about some of the NFL steals, the sleepers that are out there. One of the sleepers that we're talking about is there is one player who has the ability to be exactly what Lamar Jackson was to your fantasy team last year, this season coming up. And I think Rich Sizzle talked about it, and I think Jay's talked about it. But we've got to talk about a certain Carolina Panther who is the quarterback who may be able to do for you what Lamar Jackson did for most people's team last year. If you remember, most people didn't even have Lamar Jackson drafted. And then all of a sudden by week 4, he was on everybody's team. If you could get him, you picked him up. So right now you're looking at maybe there's some players out here. And there's another player. There's a player right now in Tennessee who's the quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, who had an excellent year last year, who is going to have a strong offense, strong defense, and they should be a good team. See, there's some players out there. You just got to know, you got to be able to pick them. And even though we have talked about Mitchell Trubisky, for a small window last season, in a very small shell, he was one of the best. He was your QB1 for at least 3 weeks. I mean, you had times where he was giving you 200, 300, close to 400 yards and giving you touchdown production also. So there are players out there. It's not just Teddy Bridgewater. But, Jay, what do you think about Teddy Bridgewater? Is he a good option maybe as your QB2, maybe QB3?
You know, you got options all the way down the line. I mean, you can't really go wrong. There's so many good NFL quarterbacks right now. I don't care where you were picking in the league. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think you got a lot of guys who are going to give you, and it all depends what your league, how your league scores now. If we give you 6 points for a touchdown, then you want a Patrick Mahomes, the type of guy who's going to light it up. But if you're only getting 4 points for a touchdown, you're getting so many points per yard, you got a lot of these guys who are going to score for you. So you really, up and down the line, you really can't miss 15 quarterbacks down. So if you're in a 10-team league, quarterback should have been the last of your problems. Mm-hmm. And some of you guys went out there and got Patrick Mahomes because you had the first pick. I had the first pick. I did not do that. But he was going high. Mm-hmm. So he's going to score a lot of touchdowns. If you're in that league that gives you 6 points for a touchdown, then maybe you want that Patrick Mahomes. But beyond that, quarterback is not an area where you need to really discuss what you're going to do, unless one of your guys get injured and they go down. So I think anywhere, if you're in a 10-team league, any quarterback you got, I think you're going to be fine.
You know, let's give the listeners a little secret. Let's give them a little tip. If you're playing fantasy football, one of your key areas that you should be always looking towards is your running back situation.
Yeah.
So if you stack your team with good running backs, you'll be pretty good. You'll be able to float. But one of the better things is if you're able to use a weave motion between a good running back, good receiver, good running back, good receiver, and build your team, you should have a substantial team moving forward. Now, we got to tell everybody we had a sizzle draft where we went in and we had fun this season. We changed up a little things and we took out the whole kicking situation, which,
I know.
yeah, all those kickers,
Hey, has Rich talked to you yet?
No, I don't. He still hasn't.
I think you're still in the
so
doghouse. I watched that. I'm like going, oh my God. You got to know every defensive player in the league now. This is hilarious.
Yes. So in our new fantasy league, what we did this season was we added not just defense, we added defenders. So now you get a chance to pick your favorite Roquan Smith, your Khalil Mack, your whoever you want to pick, you can get them because you got to pick a defender now, and he's going to have to give you points for your defense to be good. So I thought it was amazing. Rich Sizzle did not think it was amazing.
Oh yeah, because now you really here's the problem about it now. Guys like a Khalil Mack, who's really one of the top players in the league, right? Mm-hmm. If Khalil Mack, if you have him and you say, "Oh, okay, I'm putting him on there," and all of a sudden he's getting double teamed all day long, and he don't sniff the quarterback, but he's taking the double team all day long. He's got 3 tackles. That's for the whole ball game.
Right.
Your defense is shot.
Yes, it is.
You got to look at guys who those safeties who come play down in the box. If you're going to play this, you got to look at safeties who come down and play down in the box. A Tyrann Mathieu who comes down and makes tackles for you, also gets a chance to get interceptions. You're looking for guys like that on these defense. You're looking for guys on really bad teams that tackle, that get an opportunity to make a lot of tackles. That's important. You got to know these guys on these really good defenses, and they're only playing 45 snaps, 50 snaps a ball game. They don't play enough to give you the numbers that you need. So it's very much more difficult to pick a good defensive player, because just because he has a lot of activity doesn't mean that he's on a really good defense. So it's much more difficult.
Right. It was amazing that I saw a lot of Aaron Donald was moving, and then you saw Hakeem Hicks moving. But just to your point, if you're double teaming them, if they're the cog or they're the driver for a defense, you're not going to get those numbers. And you've got to look to see if these interior defensive linemen are really sack masters. Ask yourself, have they had more than 5 sacks in a season? If the answer is no, that may not be a person you want to pick up in your defensive league. So these are just new tips and ways that you're learning in fantasy, how fantasy can be played. Even without the kicker, you have your returners. You got to know, like Sammy Watkins. Let's take Sammy Watkins, for example.
Yeah.
Last year, for the first 3 games of the season, Sammy Watkins was your number one. He was your receiver 1. So he was your WR1 through 3 games. He was amazing. Now, after that, I think he was kidnapped and held hostage somewhere, probably in St. Louis, because it had to be somewhere close. It was somewhere in Missouri, but he was no longer a wide receiver option that you should carry. But to your point, Jay, you just got to know the landscape, and you've got to know now when you have defensive players, you've got to know who that defender is, and is that defender going to get you what you need as far as points are concerned. So I think it's really interesting. I thought it was a really great draft. I thought we had a lot of good player movement. But let me ask you this, Jay. I know Rich Sizzle didn't want to talk about it, but is Christian McCaffrey the number 1 player that should be drafted in any league?
I had the number 1 pick, and I took Christian McCaffrey. Yes, sir. He's a stat filler extraordinaire. He can do it all. He can run it, he can catch it, and he can score it down in the red zone. He's going to get more touches this year around the red zone because you don't have Cam there. They got to run the offense through him. That's the guy you wanted to get. If you didn't get him, you missed him. I had thoughts. I wanted to take Patrick Mahomes, but I understood that I need to have a strong running back type situation. And Christian McCaffrey, by taking him number 1 overall, I might be losing a few points by not getting Patrick Mahomes, but my quarterback play is going to be average enough that it's not going to hurt me that much, and Christian McCaffrey is going to outscore any running back in the league by far, that's the guy you want to take.
Now, the reason we're saying that is because you're saying, well, Sizzle, look, it didn't work well in my league. I didn't get the number 1 through 4 pick. I was 5 through 10, 5 through 14. And my condolences to anyone who picks after number 10 in any fantasy league. If you're in a 14-team league, number 1, it's too many people, get out. Get out now while you can.
Yeah.
Number 2, yeah, you're going to lose. It's going to happen. If your best player on the board is 14th down, it's probably going to be a receiver.
Right, and then you turn around, right back around, and you got the 15th pick because you're number 1 on top of the list. Well,
right.
Okay. What's your 15th pick going to be?
Okay, so let's go back to some years ago. We were playing, and I got Julio Jones because it was an auto draft.
Yeah. Julio
Jones and Odell Beckham. The problem was in that season, both Julio Jones and Odell Beckham got hurt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had no shot. I was making waiver claims and moves like I really worked for my team. Like they were sending me a check.
The funny part about it, I always crack up with these drafts. All of a sudden, you see guys making six waiver wire moves and everything else like that. I'm like, dude, are you with Pro Football Weekly?
Yes.
Do you have a column in Pro Football Weekend? Because you have to make that many roster moves. You got to be watching the league. You got to have 3 or 4 subscriptions going. And I'm probably not playing in the same league with you because you got too much money on the board to be playing with.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing that, there's serious money. That's hot money. In fact, you probably need to talk to Simone Cason about what you need to do with that money and get it invested the right way.
Go in there and watch. Go watch. She knows about her money. And she's doing the IPO.
Yeah.
You know.
You may need to find the dopest chick. So we've just told you about some of the things you can do in fantasy. These are some of the little things you can do. One of the greatest things is make sure you have a strong running game. And look, we're putting you up on game because nobody knows this. Well, they do know it, but they're just not telling you.
They know it. They don't tell you.
Yeah,
that's why the same guys win fantasy league every year. You go get you go pick your quarterback. Then you go there and pick your kicker, Justin Tucker. You get him in the 4th round. Or now, I'm not going to hate in the 4th round.
I'm not going to say if you got a kicker league and you're dependent on it, you might want to take a Justin Tucker between 8th and the 10th round. You might. But that's just if there's no other offensive player on the board that's going to give you a guaranteed 7 points, which
you really got to know how your league scores to take kickers that high, to take defense that high. You need to get running backs. That's what you need to get, and then find bad teams who throw the football a lot, and see if you can get those wide receivers that might flash for you down the line, and maybe stash some guys away because of an injury comes up or something like that. So that's something you got to do. But your first 4 rounds, man, make or break you in fantasy. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, that is the key. And so now that you know the key, now that you've learned something, you can always thank us, and you can always send money to the Cash App to thank us for all the money that you just won in fantasy. So thank you.
Right?
We do appreciate it. So listen, we're getting ready to go to break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about what's going on in the sports world that's burning our biscuits. You know the segment. You know what we talk about. You know what we've come to do. You're listening to The Sizzle here on Iron Skillet Radio and Iron Skillet Television.
Make sure that you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Iron Skillet Sports. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to Iron Skillet Sports on YouTube at Iron Skillet Sports.
You know what it is. You know who it is. Thank you again for tuning in to another edition of The Sizzle Live. But look, before we get ready to get out of here, because we got to get ready to go. I know, I hate leaving you guys, and it's a terrible thing when we have to leave because we leave you without sizzleization, and you need sizzleization in your life. Everybody needs a little sizzleization. But you've learned some things today. You learned how to make money. Number 1, we taught you right now, If you go to your fantasy, you can make money. You can do it now before Sunday's game. That's number one. Number two, we gave you a new word for your lexicon so that you can speak to your friends, family members, and even your pastors and let them know what the new sizzle word of the week is. And we've also given you all the information you need to know about everything that's going on in the NFL, the NBA, and Chicago sports, which is horrifically terrible. But other than that, everything is great. But there is that time when we have to talk about it. And we talked about, mental health and social wellness things. So this is our social wellness, mental health time when we talk about what is burning your biscuits. Now you say, what's that? So every once in a while, somebody says something or somebody does something that burns your biscuits. And it just gets you you get so mad that you want to just go, ah! That's what you want to do every time.
You got to make that face too.
Yeah. That's what you got to do. And then when people pull up beside you in the car, you're going,
wow.
And that's what they say. That one person says, wow. And then somebody else says, you know what? Somebody really burned their biscuits. Yeah, there was a lot of burned biscuits going on. So, Jay, let me ask you, what's burning your biscuits?
Let me tell you what's burning my biscuits right now. You got a lot of guys in pro sports making a lot of money. But you have a number of guys who've made pro sports teams for the first year or second year, and they got opportunity to make pro sports money. You know what's burning my biscuits? Follow the rules. Mm-hmm. Follow the rules. You're in the bubble. Why are you sneaking somebody in? What are you doing? Do you know how much money you're going to miss out on now? You got other teams out here that won't even consider taking you on now because you won't follow the rules. My goodness, for 3 or 4 months, 2 weeks, whatever, however long it is, all you got to do is be a good soldier. Make it to practice on time. Go see Mickey Mouse. Go walk around, take a ride on the tram. Do what you need to do. Write a book. Everybody's writing a book. It's the COVID season. Why are you sneaking people inside of the bubble? Disney World, beyond the Pentagon, beyond Fort Knox, is probably one of the most secure areas in the country. There are cameras everywhere. Mm-hmm. Mickey's got one. Minnie's got one. Goofy's running around with a whole camera crew. You think you're going to sneak somebody in there and they're not going to know it? All those millionaires down there on that Disney campus, you don't think they got security up the wazoo? I guarantee you, that Disney complex is one of the safest places on earth right now. And you're going to sneak somebody into the Disney complex inside the bubble, and you thought you were going to get away with it. It's going to cost you your job there and possibly cost you some other things at home. Come on, guys. Young guys, think about it. You're not going to be able to make this money, man, in the long run. You got opportunity to make the money. Hopefully you got opportunity for next year. But, you're burning my biscuits. I don't understand it. Why these guys just can't follow the rule for a few weeks.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Jay. I'm going to tell you something. I forgot one I've been holding on for a while. So let me start. And this burnt biscuit goes out to Chris Mannix of Sports Illustrated. Earlier, there was a podcast he did with Casey Johnson, and he was talking about how it's so great that Steve Nash has been hired back into the NBA and that, Jacques Vaughn did a yeoman's effort, but, he should really be happy he still has a job. And really, it was great that his ego didn't get in the way and that he didn't force himself out of the team and say, hey, even though I've taken this team and made us respectable and took us to the playoffs and really worked hard to get players developed and get the offense right, don't worry about it because I'm going to be a good soldier and let Steve Nash come in and just do everything he needs to do. Okay, Chris Mannix, I know you don't understand it, maybe because it's not something that even comes across your desk. But when you use these type of terms, to me, it comes off as privilege talk. And we're talking about people who can say, "Oh, good for you, because I know, melanated person, you've worked as hard as anyone else, but just remember there's a good place for you as an assistant or something else, not the head man, because you really don't need to be the head man. You'll be okay just to be the person behind the person who's getting the accolades." No, Chris Mannix, and for the rest of those who are listening, it's not okay for a coach to be brought in when you had a competent and capable coach. We don't know what Jacques Vaughn could do with the addition of a Kevin Durant and with a Kyrie Irving. You don't know where they could go. But we do know this. We do know that right now he will not get that opportunity. Let me then reference what Byron Scott said in the article that he made with Bleacher Report. In the interview, he said that melanated coaches are never given the opportunity to have superstars. And when they do, they must make sure that they win. Now, I'm not saying that all melanated coaches are great and all non-melanated coaches are not. But what I am saying is to Chris Mannix and others who get ready to go to that border of privilege talk, when you have a man who's proven himself, when he knows his job and has done his job effectively and efficiently, that man should be at least rewarded with the opportunity to see this through. So, in this situation where you have a coach who is not given the opportunity to take a team to the highest pinnacle of the NBA ladder or mountain or as such, this is a situation where I think there's an issue. Now, do I need to protest the Brooklyn office? No. Do I need to go out and burn Kevin Durant jerseys? No. Do I need to go and slash up my Steve Nash poster? No. But what I am saying to you is there are qualified and capable candidates, and ethnicity should never be the sole factor. But when you know that you're in a position where you have someone who has the credentials, who's actually coached, maybe he is a good candidate for a coaching position. And that was my burn biscuit. So, Jay, I don't know. That was my burn biscuit.
That's something that has to be burned up about. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I don't have an issue with Steve Nash. I've never had. Yeah. It wasn't the Steve Nash issue that I had. And I'm not even saying, Steve Nash has worked around Steph Curry and the rest of them as a developmental player, because I hear people say, "Oh, well, he was at Golden State as a developmental player." Yeah, but there's also this guy called Dell Curry, who is Steph's dad, which probably did more developmental work with him than anybody on this planet. And Steph Curry has 10 trainers. He's got a one-on-one trainer that does his physical training with him every day. He's on his own plan. In fact, if I'm correct, I think Golden State has to defer to what his workout plan is and what his people say. So, yeah, I don't know how much development Steve Nash did when Steve Nash, even at his best, was not Steph Curry. Steve Nash was never Kevin Durant. He was never –
he was a two-time MVP, though.
Yeah, questionable two-time MVP. I mean, one time I'll give it to you. But that second time, it's as questionable as the MVP that Derrick Rose got over LeBron James. Ooh, yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it. Oh, yeah.
You can't go back to Chicago, sir. Don't be talking that yakky dak around here.
It went and it's gone and it's past and it is what it is. Not saying that Derrick Rose wasn't deserving of it. Not saying that Steve Nash wasn't deserving. But there was somebody right on that other side of Derrick Rose, which was LeBron James that season. There was somebody on the other side of Steve Nash when he won the second one. You're just saying, okay, so I say two-time NBA champion. Is that enough to say then that over qualified head coaches who have been champions and who were players who are just as good as you physically, maybe they didn't get all the accolades, but does that give you the leg up just because you were two-time champ? because we see in Charlotte, we see a multiple champion who can't pull together a team.
Well, yeah, but because you can't get a number of people on there that are just like him.
Well, can you find anybody? You know what I thought about, and I want to get your thought on this real quick.
Okay.
We underestimate a lot about what 80s basketball was going into the 90s. But one of the things that we don't talk about, especially with the Bulls, between Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, they were excellent shooters. Now, Michael wasn't a great three-point shooter, but he did bring that into his repertoire later.
Had a nice midi game.
Yes, had an excellent midi game. Had a good 15 to 18. That was his game. But is that what's missing? When I look at a Houston team, when I look at other teams, when I look at a Russell Westbrook who's left wide open to take a three, nobody's even trying to get over there to him because you're like, if you make it, okay. If not, no. But then you have his counterpart, James Harden, who's being triple teamed at the top of the key. What does that say about shooting in the NBA at this moment?
Well, I mean, it's one of those skills. All right, two things have happened in the NBA that's caused this chasm between shooters, the mid game, and the 3-point game. First thing, the advent of the 3-point line, right? Those 80 teams, in those, they didn't have that line until when Michael Jordan came out of North Carolina. I think the line had just been instituted, maybe a couple of years or something like that. So it wasn't that big of a deal. Guys were shooting from the 3-point line, but it was sort of like, oh, okay, it's not a normal part of the game. It's something. If you're out there, take a shot. Remember it was such a big deal when Jordan hit six 3-pointers in a row.
Right.
Six 3-pointers in a game.
Right.
Now these guys hit 6 3-pointers in a game. You won't even think twice. Oh, he had 6 3-pointers in a game. Oh, what a big deal. So when you had those guys who are able to shoot the 3-point game, it opened up the paint.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you have teams that the paint is going to be clogged, especially with the advent of the zone. You weren't able to zone in the NBA, so you weren't able to pack that paint now. And now you're going to leave guys out there who can't shoot. Giannis, you're going to leave him out there on the 3-point line because you don't have to go out there. You know what I'm saying? Shoot all you want to.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is now with a Steph Curry, who also is my second point, who made it. You got to have a guy who's going to let it go from 40 now. He's brought in all these smaller players, these 6'2", 6'3" guards that would have had a problem. They weren't Allen Iverson, who just attacked the paint. They weren't that guy. You got these guys now, these Jamal Murrays, and these guys, even though he's not 6'3", but guys who can sit out here and shoot the ball, and now they can go one-on-one against somebody because you have to honor the 3-point line. It makes the game different. So what you're seeing right now in the NBA is that either you're going to have to be able to shoot the 3 ball. There's a lot of guys playing in the league right now that shouldn't be in the league, but because they can shoot, they're in the league. Mm-hmm. Because they get exposed on the other end of the court. They can't play defense and they're slow of foot. But because you can shoot the ball in the NBA, you can find that you can have an opportunity to play. So the skill level now on defense is not that big as it used to be. These teams are scoring 120 points a game and nobody's saying nothing about it. We never saw teams score 120 points in a game in the 80s.
Right.
Never. Even NBA All-Star games, you barely got 120 points in.
Right.
So now teams score 115 points, and it's really not that big of a deal. You know what I'm saying? You see it all the time. Teams 115 to 111, 122 to 117. Nobody cares anymore. They're not playing defense and they're shooting that 3 ball. So it's really made the NBA a league where you have to have shooters to open up your middle game. And if you don't have shooters to open up the game around the basket, you're not going to be able to score enough points to win in the NBA. And that's just the way it is.
Well, you know what? We're going to leave it there because I know it's time to go already. But listen, let me tell you something. If you're not following the Sizzle on any of your social media platforms, number one, shame on you. And number two, you can rectify that situation by finding Iron Skillet Sports anywhere. If you need Iron Skillet Radio, you can find us on Google. You can find us at iTunes. You can find us at Stitcher. You can find us on Spotify. And if you're looking for Iron Skillet TV, YouTube is right there for you. You can always find Iron Skillet Television right there on YouTube. Just like, subscribe, and share. And that way, even if you can't find us, always remember that we are at Skillet _ sports. Yeah, real simple. Just do it. Just find us. Just type in Iron Skillet Sports. You'll find us. We're right there. You don't have to do anything else. So, for myself, because I never like to for myself, I think that is so ridiculous. For myself, I have found Iron Skillet Sports. I like it all the time. But for Jay Sizzle and for G Sizzle, we're getting ready to get out of here. Jay, man, it's been fun again, as always.
No, always, man, always.
Always. So, hey.
I just want to say out there, everybody, check out the new look at the Sizzle. We're working at it, man. We're trying to bring you the best content possible. We're working on how we look, working on how we sound. So we want, man, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. We're going to be posting more stuff's going to be coming out. Thumbs up, put that out there, man. Cause we're glad you guys came out to join with us, and it's just happy to be here, man. We're working on it, trying to give you the best show that we can give you.
Oh, and by the way, you always have something on Iron Skillet Radio. So 5 days of the week, you are always ready. Then Saturday, you're covered. You are great. And you can always find us on Iron Skillet Television. Yo, it's an amazing thing. I hope that you've enjoyed yourself. We've enjoyed having you here. So until we talk again, remember, we are Iron Skillet Sports. We are the hottest talk in the 219. We are the only talk in the 219. And we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you for listening to The Sizzle, the hottest sports talk in the 219, here on Iron Skillet Television and Iron Skillet Radio.